I do want to dive in, if you don't mind, to that transition from working with your partners in the previous fund that you guys started and bought 140 different apartment complexes, raised $130 million worth of real estate or of equity, excuse me, and bought $300 million worth of real estate. What was that like winding it down? And what advice would you have for someone who's maybe in that situation where they have a partnership, they've done some significant deals and have a significant portfolio, and the partnership is looking to wind down? What was your experience like, and what advice might you have for someone that's in that situation?
Yeah, so my partners and I were very intelligent in designing this path in which we knew that we would wind it down when we started it. We formed a board of directors to advise us. We had multiple syndication attorneys advising us. We didn't know when we were going to wind this down, but we knew eventually we would exit this business and exit this partnership. And so we designed it pretty intelligently going in. If COVID hadn't have happened and some things hadn't have happened during that year, we probably would have done a sixth fund and a seventh fund and made it slightly bigger. But we just had the partnership agreements written really well, and we had our heads on straight to be able to do that. And it really helped that we were able to exit successfully for ourselves and our investors. And just, we sold properties, we made some money, we returned it to investors, and that allows us to go and do it again.
So for someone that has a significant portfolio, they have a partnership that's looking to wind down. You guys were selling at an incredible time, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was market, caused. Obviously, you mentioned COVID and some, just the desire of the partnership to dissolve. But it was an incredible time to sell. I'm curious, if you have any thoughts for someone who may be at this point in time in the market cycle where, things are different than probably in the last 2 years that you've sold. And maybe there's a little bit more benefit to the sponsors because they're looking to dissolve, and not necessarily the benefit to the investor. Not a great question, but hopefully you understand what I'm trying to get at, which is there any challenges to the motivation of the sponsors to actually sell and dissolve and liquidate their portfolio, and also balance that with what's best for the investors at that point?
Yeah, so I'll consider that a 2-point question. The first is we sold at the exact right time. Our buyers were armed with 3% to 3.5% money while rents were skyrocketing.
Yeah.
And so we were able to convince sellers that look at our rent rolls. They're not where they can be in some cases, and you can get them there. And we made some successful sales. Now you're armed with, I was quoted today, 7.19% interest rate. And I'm also thinking that rents are not going to increase at all in 2023. They're going to stay flat. And so selling now would be more difficult. The second part of the question is, how do you balance selling and buying with your investors? And I've seen both. I've given money back to an investor and they'd be super happy, and then I've given money back to an investor and they'd be super upset. They say, how long it took me to due diligence you guys, and I could have invested in a whole bunch of other things. I chose to invest with you. I wanted this money to be put to work for 20 years, and now you're giving it back to me already. And we were just blessed in most cases to work with investors that put a lot of trust in us and understood that if we were returning money to you, it was the best thing to do at the time. And we're raising new funds, so if they want to reinvest that capital, they can. In Beal Capital, Beal Fund 1, The fund started in 2020, and we immediately sold a couple properties we bought in that fund. But instead of returning the money to investors, we 1031'd it into larger properties, and
Hmm.
that seems to be a very good strategy going forward as well. But in that case, I'm the only partner, and I can decide completely and fully what to do. When you're in a partnership with 5 other people, every one of them were amazing, and every one of them brought a lot to the table. But we did have 2 calls a week for about 100 straight weeks, where we're debating and talking and analyzing this business to death, and it definitely slowed us down for sure. And you know, when there's 5 votes, you don't always get your way. So it's just a different thing. Do you want to be in a partnership and do huge things, or do you want to do it by yourself? And most likely you're going to be doing some smaller stuff, because you can only do what one person can do as opposed to what 5 people could do.